On this day when we commemorate the courage and valor of Filipino soldiers, a new breed of heroes battles on the pitch.
We salute and honor those who give their all playing for their squad. I'm Paulo Buendia.
So stand in attention for the next 30 minutes for everything and anything about the UFL. I'm Mariel Benitez.
And I'm Mia Cabofin, and this is
The United Football League, it's our game.
They may be united against protecting our country against all threats, but on the pitch, these two AFP squads wage war. Draw the battle lines and choose your sides as Air Force Rider takes on Army Fritz and Maxiol IBM in our first match of the week. It's the Armed Forces Derby when Air Force Rider goes up against Army Fritz and Maxiol IBM. Air Force looks to regain its deadly form following its victory over Green Archer's Orient Freight, but the always dangerous Chifi Caligdong sits this one out with an injury. Army aims to bust out of a slump that produced just one win in 3 games. With the familiarity of two sides that have played against each other for so long, Air Force and Army traded attempts in the first 30 minutes of the match. Air Force came close to breaking the 0-0 deadlock in the 22nd minute when the tag team of Ian Araneta and Jaylor Soriano finds Yanti Barsales, but Yanti's header flies high. Army responds 4 minutes later. During Army's scramble, Air Force keeper Ed Mercado finds himself out of position and runs back for the save. The Air Force attack awoke in the closing minutes of the first half with 2 quality attempts by the Dogs' Ian Araneta. The two sides get the crowd cheering in the 44th minute. Army keeper Ed Sacapaño's missed kick finds Air Force's Soriano, who passes to Araneta. Sacapaño gets a hand on the cross, but Randy Belaong is waiting at the far post. John Cain and the Army defense played second keeper as they parry one Air Force shot after another. The first half would close at 0-0. Air Force regrouped and found their form in the second half when Araneta outruns his defenders to set up the promising Sergeant Monteliano. The newly promoted starter scores with a left-footed shot that sparks a joyous celebration from Caligdong, who turned into Air Force's biggest cheerleader. Army Sacapaño produces a fine save in the 57th minute to keep Air Force from doubling its lead. But Sacapaño couldn't stop the rivals in the 62nd minute when he fails to safely deflect Araneta's header, and the ball falls to a waiting Monteliano, who easily nudges it home. 2-0 Air Force. Following Monteliano's brace, Air Force's elder statesman Yanti Barsales gets on the scoring sheet in the 69th minute. The captain gets a double of his own 9 minutes from time with a glancing header off a corner kick. Air Force would wrap this up 4-0 to collect 3 more points on the table.
Ang expected namin, close tong game na to eh. Kasi Army, rivalry ng Air Force. So yun, hindi namin nakalain na yung score magiging ganito. Siguro ano lang yun, yung team nag-work as a team. Yung goal namin, ano lang yun siguro, breaks of the game lang. Lahat naman nagtrabaho, kaya siguro yun, nakapag-deliver kami ng mga goals.
When we return, we'll find out if Global Smartmatic stays perfect. offside rule is important in football but can be confusing. Simply put, the easiest way to visualize this is to draw an imaginary line on the defender parallel to the goal line, and if the attacker passes this line when the ball is kicked, he or she is offside. This is the imaginary line that both players and referees use during a game. If the attacking player passes the line when the ball is kicked, he or she is offside. If he's in line with the defender, then he's not offside, and if he is behind the line, he is not offside. It doesn't matter if there's just one defensive player on the line or if several are aligned on the same distance from the goal line. The attacker has to be careful not to cross that line. When the attacking team is called for offside, the other team gets an indirect free kick from the point of infraction.
Four matches, 4 wins. Can they make it 5 for 5? Global Smartmatic's unblemished record is on the line as they take on Army Fritz and Maxwell IBM in our second match of the week. Undefeated Global Smartmatics started the 2011 UFL season in dominating fashion. High-scoring matches quickly became the trademark of Coach Frank Muscan's side. On the other hand, Army Fritz and Maxwell IBM suffered a 4-0 drubbing at the hands of their longtime rivals Air Force Rider in their last match. Army looks to recover and finish the first round strong to keep themselves in contention. Frank Muscan's boys jumped in front when the always dangerous forward Izu El Habib struck in the 6th minute. With the lead in the bag, Global was expected to seize control of the match, but Army Fritz and Maxwell IBM had other ideas. Ascal Roel Henner had a fine attempt in the 21st minute. Global sought to double its lead in the 36th minute, but Aaron Altice's attempt flies high. 3 minutes later, Izu went close to nabbing a brace, but the screamer of an attempt misses its intended mark. The first half closes 1-0 in favor of Global Smartmatic. Army came out firing at the start of the second half. Henner was in point-blank range a mere 3 minutes on. He follows it up with a weak volley a minute later, and the scoreline remains 1-0 Global. Army's efforts paid off in the 53rd minute when Meliton Pelayo leveled the match 1-1. Global replied 2 minutes later, but Misak Bahadoran's shot goes straight at Edsa Capano. Army was reduced to 10 men when Eduardo Gempisao was handed a second yellow card. Tempers flared following the send-off, and officials regained control of the match. Aaron Altice tried to jumpstart the unusually listless Global attack, but Sacapano beats Global winger Kuzmas to the punch. Pelayo was handed a golden opportunity to double his tally, but he fails to latch on to a volley right in front of goal. Bahadoran was at it again in the 81st minute, but he still could not find his scoring touch. Man of the match honors went to Meliton Pelayo, who celebrated his birthday on Thursday.
Thank you po kasi bukas kaarawan ko kaya siguro bigyan ng God para sa akin yung goal na yun. Sobrang malakas po sila sa league na to at saka na-draw namin and thank God na na-goal ko yung this game na to. Binabati ko po yung mga official ko, lalo na sa mga family ko, tsaka mga teammates, tsaka coaches na nandito, tsaka yung mga crowd na nanonood dito.
Now let's pick apart what took place between Global and Army in our match analysis.
It was a match set out to be dominated by the undefeated Global Smartmatic FC. And in 6 minutes, they showed domination on attack by easily scoring a goal from Izo El Habib. However, Army Fritz and Maxiol IBM did not give up and continued to play aggressively. It took 53 minutes for their offense to finally score, with Meliton Pelayo heading the ball past the Global FC goalkeeper. Army Fritz and Maxiol IBM played with a 4-4-2 formation, with Ascal member Roel Hener playing as a striker instead of his usual wing position, a position that proved to be very effective as he was the workhorse for Army, providing long ball to the man of the match Pelayo or creating options for their attack. Army, who went one man down after Gempisao was sent out of the match, played short passing football and pushed all 10 players offensively, even letting the goalkeeper take most free kicks outside the penalty box. On the other hand, Global lost steam and lacked the spark that they are known for. Though they had a couple of close chances inside the penalty box or even breakaways, they dominated with individual skills rather than team play. It was definitely a much-deserved draw for Army, who held their defense even with 10 men as they played good passing football against the undefeated Global Smartmatic FC.
Up ahead, undermanned Kaya Smart FC faces a big challenge going up against the defending league champions. Stay tuned for more on the UFL.
Good to have you back. With sports and entertainment options becoming more and more expensive, it's great to know that watching the UFL here at UMAC costs nothing. How can you beat that? Great football matches for free. Moving on, with its two Ascals currently in the United States conducting tryouts for the national team, Kaya Smart FC had its work cut out against an intact Air Force Rider squad. Can Kaya do the improbable? Let's get the answers in this recap.
With the absence of Herbert Bayona, defending league champion Air Force Rider tweaked its 4-4-2 formation a bit as Jaylor Soriano moved back along with Chiffy Caligdong, making it possible for veteran Yanti Barsales to start and join Ian Araneta up front. Meanwhile, without Ascal's Ali Borromeo and Anton Del Rosario, new recruits Anton Gonzalez, Gus Aguirre, Hamid Pashon, and Prince, along with Michael Sapit and Jeffrey Liman, were inserted in Kaya Smart FC's starting formation, while Yannick Tuazon moved up front to join Philip Zeman as the team's strikers. Air Force was on attack mode during the opening minutes, and they nearly scored a real quick one, care of Randy Belaong, before it was cleared on the line by a Kaya defender. It Didn't take long though before Air Force struck first as Chiffy Caligdong's corner kick found its target in Ian Araneta, who headed home the match's first goal in the 7th minute. The succeeding minutes saw Kaya get several scoring opportunities, but the squad failed to capitalize on those occasions as halftime ended with the Airmen still ahead. Just minutes after the restart, Air Force would lose Araneta as he injured his hand and had to be replaced. Kaya seemed to be the more active and aggressive side in the first few minutes of the second half, and no individual exhibited it more than Askal Yannick Tuazon as he threatened the Air Force backline with a couple of dangerous incursions. Just when it seemed like Air Force was satisfied with a 1-0 scoreline, ageless wonder Yanti Barsales defied Father Time once again as he found himself all alone on a solo expedition to score in the 84th minute. As if it regained its second win after a sluggish start in the second half, Air Force struck once more just before the 90th minute as Chiffy Caligdong joined his fellow Askals in the scoring fray. With its convincing 3-0 victory, Air Force Rider earned a tie for first place with Global Smartmatic with an identical record of 4 wins and 1 draw for 12 points, thus making their much-awaited match to end the first round even more interesting. For setting up a teammate for the opening strike and closing out the match with a final goal, Chiffy Caligdong is our choice for man of the match.
Yung game plan na talaga namin sa itong game is first 15 minutes i-high-press namin yung Kaya. Tsaka alam namin na kulang sila sa player, wala si Anton and Dali. So yun, malaking advantage pa talaga sa amin na kulang sila sa player, and then yung keeper nila mas bata.
We're no surgeons, but let us dissect and analyze the match you just witnessed.
Air Force Rider started out the stronger of the two teams as they set out to pressure the undermanned Kaya Smart FC defense. With the absence of Ascal's Anton Del Rosario and skipper Ali Borromeo, fellow Ascal's Ian Araneta, Chiffy Caligdong, and Yanti Barsales provided a composed interplay up front for the defending league champions. The pressure paid off as Ian Araneta scores from a Chiffy corner. Surprisingly, this goal that was supposed to uplift the game of Air Force ended up doing the exact opposite. They began to relax and grew overconfident, which allowed Kaya back into the game. Askal Yannick Tuazon terrorized the Air Force defense in the second half as he beat defenders with his excellent dribbling skills and quick pace. He made things happen for Kaya, providing passes and shots that were absorbed by Air Force. Unluckily, all these attempts did not produce the equalizer they needed. The defending champions realized that the victory was not yet assured. Lapses by the makeshift Kaya defense eventually led to late goals by Yanti Barsales and our man of the match, Chiffy Caligdong, which sealed the win.
Coming up, we'll profile these dashing football brothers. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching the United Football League. It's our game. Football is a family affair, and these two brothers are definitely evidence of that as they play for the same squad in the UFL. Now let's get to meet this Ascal and his brother in our player profiles.
Hi, my name's Armando Rosario. I'm the center back or left back for Kaya Football Club. I've been playing football since I was 6 years old.
I'm Anton Del Rosario and I play center back for Kaya Football Club, and I've been playing soccer since I was 6 years old.
I was the first to play. I started playing when I was 6 years old. My brother was still about 3, so I was always first when it came to sports. First memory playing together with my brother in high school. In high school, I was the first player to be brought up to varsity football as a freshman. When I was a senior in high school, Anton was the second player to be brought up as a freshman. In the middle of the season, my coach came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want your brother to come up and play with us here on the varsity team?" I said, "You know, for this playoff run, let's do it. Let's get him some experience."
I mean, we played high school soccer together and ended up winning the championship amongst the Bay Area, so that was probably the most memorable.
The number one overall was, I guess, whenever you're asked to play for your country, it means a little bit more. So when I played with the Ascals from 2003 to 2007, it was a good feeling to put on that jersey, to get out there in front of the crowd, hear the national anthem with your team. It's really one of the special moments that any player aspiring to play football can have.
As a football player, my greatest achievement is, of course, making the Philippine national team. I mean, it's any player's dream to make a national team, you know? It's the highest level you can achieve, and to be playing for the country, I'm very proud.
Even with my two daughters, my eldest is now 6 years old. I had her start playing soccer at 4 years old. Football is something where kids can get outdoors, play, get away from watching TV, get exercise. It instills discipline, and it just overall health. So for all my children, I will get them to get outdoors and play football and get active.
Thank you all very much. These last few months have been spectacular. We've seen football grow from nothing into something, and I mean, that's been our main goal. But now we have to look further and, making it be even more than it is right now.
You work hard, you train hard, and you do your best. And despite what anybody says, as long as you have love for it, do what you want, do what you need.
So there's just one playing date left in the first round of the league tournament. Now let's look how each team is doing so far in the current team standings.
Whether you are planning a family outing or a date for two, you can always consider watching the UFL matches here at UMAC as a good idea, especially since it's free. Now here's a peek at the upcoming matches.
We hope we once again fulfilled your need for football.
And for more of the real thing, come on over to the University of Makati and watch the UFL matches for free.
And for more information, don't forget to log on to footballalliance.ph or look for the LBC United Football League page on Facebook and follow Football Alliance on Twitter. I'm Mariel Benitez.
I'm Paulo Buendia.
And I'm Mia Cabolfin, and this has been the United Football League. It's our game.